Hello, it is your favorite internet nobody. And there comes a point in life when you've let yourself go so much that fixing it is just a futile effort. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody is all right. Given that on Friday we had the world of gaming and the gaming landscape completely transformed overnight by the successful release of Path of Exile 2 early access. Oh, come on. Come on. Stop skulking, stop tapping angrily, stop disliking. I mean, it was perfectly expected. It was perfectly expected. Anybody who works in IT, anybody who's lived with computers for 30 plus years, knows this was perfectly expected. This was, if you get a game that's so heavily dependent on cloud infrastructure, a game that's accessible only online to folks, and in the current climate with how quickly and how powerfully you can market stuff, you expect this to be the case. You just expect issues. But you know what? GGG handled it well. They did forewarn everybody. They were trying to get stuff working. On Friday, I was actually finishing Starfield, and I was very glad to have not spent hours waiting for Path of Exile servers to stabilize. So I was actually able to get to play the game on Saturday, the following day. No issues at all, mostly. Had three or four disconnects and a crash, but I think overall it behaved okay for an early access, super popular game. I think at this point in time it would be unfair to speak about the technical aspects of the game. I think it would be unfair to be nitpicky at stuff. Because this is like judging, say, a stew by trying it whilst it's cooking. It's pointless. I mean, yeah, if you're a cook, you might kind of get a feel for how things are going with your spices and your ratios and so on, but there is still some time, and stuff needs to cook, chemistry needs to take place, things need to break down, and that's what's going to happen with Path of Exile going forward now. Path of Exile 2, that is. It will cook. It needs to cook. It needs a bit more time in the oven, or on the stove, or in the microwave, whatever. It needs a bit more time. Clearly, I was prepared for that. I was excited as most people, but again, being the cautious optimist that I am, I knew it was going to be rough to begin with. What I didn't expect is to find a game that is so different from the first. Genuinely so different from the first. I mean, bleeping heck. The gameplay is just a different beast. It's a different beast. I picked up Monk, the Monk class, played until like 2/3 through Act 1, defeated a few bosses, some of them first try, some of them actually killed me. I found myself struggling, genuinely struggling to do stuff until I remembered that you can roll. You see, unlike Diablo, where you're using sprinting of some kind or blinking to charge in and kind of get in the fray, in Path of Exile, most of the characters use this opportunity to step away, to move back, to defend themselves. Sorry, I keep looking outside because they're building something and I'm curious. And I also have a YouTube video playing of somebody building an RC truck that's 70 kilos in weight, like a massive 5,000 US dollars RC truck. It looks fantastic. Yeah, you can immediately tell that one game is catered towards the slow and deliberate play styles. It's a bit more complex. It's a bit more like I want to say chess, but not really. I don't know what to compare it to. But you're more defensive. You're more deliberate about stuff. Diablo, on the other hand, encourages you to charge forward. It encourages you to push forward, to be super aggressive with most every class, with most every character, and you're rewarded for aggression. With Path of Exile, at least early on, that's not the case at all. At all. The things I liked: visuals, music, the play with a controller, because that's how I'm going to be playing Path of Exile 2. And that's how I intend to play most of my games, if I have any say in it, and if they're developed properly, with controller in mind. I liked the boss designs and the feel of it. As somebody who is a lover of everything from software, these boss fights are strangely reminiscent of that. The comparisons are unavoidable in this case. You can just feel like this is an ARPG version of a Soulsborne game, and I love it. In fact, if you take away the gems and you call them runes, and if as I said in one of my videos, and if you rework the passive skill tree to something smaller and more manageable and different looking, and you name the game, I don't know, Exile's Lament, or Age of Decay, or whatever, anything. Just think of something, and yeah, you wouldn't know it's Path of Exile. You wouldn't know it's done by GGG Games. Other things I liked. I love the way the gems are presented now. I love the small video tutorials on how to use your skills and the voice reading of things. I do wish that stuff is toggleable. I wish you could toggle it on and off. I'm not a huge fan of preview of what stuff does. I kind of like to experiment with it and try it. But I also understand there is a place for it. There is a place for it in this world, again, especially for people who are new to the genre, they're new to the product. You probably want some hand-holding. You do. Just to make sure that you're not alienating people who want to play but just don't know how to even begin to approach this. But yeah, I wish for the more experienced, you could just say toggle tutorials off, so you don't have voices reading the abilities, telling you how to use them. You don't have clips of how they look like and so on. But again, they're welcome. I say that's a plus. That's a massive plus. Oh yeah, and the game is available on GeForce Now, which I'm a subscriber founder of. I mean, founder is a very pretentious something, because I'm not getting paid to be. I'm actually paying to be a founder. So that's the irony now is I can see that clearly. But yeah, as a GeForce Now member / founder, the fact that Path of Exile 2 is available to play in the cloud is and the mercenary class. This is the last plus that I can think about for the early access. The mercenary class, for me anyway, I don't have to be exhaustive, it's just stuff that matters to me. The mercenary class is interesting. It's by far the most intriguing thing from the moment you pick it up. Because what happened was, after the stream, I tried the witch, and I picked the mercenary as well. And let me tell you, playing with the mercenary is Yeah, it's very good. The power play feels fantastic. It feels very grounded and very real and very visceral. Is that a way of saying it? Should I be saying it? Is that the best way to describe it? It feels like again, it transforms how the game feels completely, because you get the triggers, you map abilities to triggers, and you're like pulling, and you're going blam, blam, blam. You're reloading the grenades, and it's like, what am I? It almost feels like Helldivers 2 or some other like top-down shooter game, and what a stark contrast compared to every other class so far that's available. Feels like you could have a bunch of these guys, like 4 mercenaries, and you don't even need the rest of the classes, which is scary. It's how it feels. It could be a separate game set in a separate universe. Yeah, very cool, very cool. Probably the coolest to me so far. Although again, I'll stick with the monk for the time being. Now the bad things. The UI is still horrible to me compared to Diablo 4. The visuals and some of the music and some of the story and the acting so far, again, not on the level of Diablo 4. No other in-game cinematics so far that I've seen other than the trailer itself. That's I'm more for that than anything else. So far is so good. Nothing yet. Yeah, the UI feels clunky as heck. Does feel. Fortunately, the gameplay works beautifully with controllers, but not the actual menus. The fact that stuff is set. Like you pick your class and then you're presented with a bunch of active abilities that you're gemming into. So stuff is like kind of outlined and predefined for you. It's good for new players, I suspect, and people who've never played Path of Exile, the first game. But if you've played the first game, you're like, you feel limited, You feel limited. I know that's not the case, because then you can actually augment stuff and you can mix and match from other classes to find your own little build. And I suspect late game is going to get bonkers. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But early on, it feels less chaotic and less random than the first game, which to me is unfortunately a downside. The maps and the setup and just the visuals and everything, higher fidelity, but just a bit messy to me. In some ways, very true to Path of Exile 1. Very, very true to Path of Exile 1, which is not a bad thing. And I know Path of Exile 1 later on gets just easier to look at. Especially around the Temple of the Sun and all the pools of blood and the marble with gold accents, the symmetry of it all, the splendor of it all. Just it's easier to look at compared to Path of Exile 2 early on anyway. I think the mapping of the controller to abilities is funny. Like what the game suggests by default is not comfortable at all. You have to rework that for yourself to figure it out. And last but not least, again, the game is early access, and I need my Templar class. So, in summary, Path of Exile 2 early access is fine. I can see how you can pick this and just not stop playing. You just can't stop playing. I can, because I am one of the people who sees a dish that's not finished yet, a food that's still cooking. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be fantastic. I just need to give it time. I'm patient. I can give it time. I think the plan now is to, play Indiana Jones next week or tomorrow. Just get some other games, any single player stuff, and then I will be returning in proper to nice and proper to PoE2 as soon as the Templar becomes available, and then we'll give it like a good, get from to max level, do some end game. We'll just go through all of that, and I suspect that will be probably around summer of 2025 or something like that. I certainly hope so. And by that time, I'll probably be in some other country, somewhere on a beach, playing Path of Exile 2 on my laptop, because that's what playing outside for me means these days. Yeah. But if you're wondering if you should get it or not, I think if you're playing nothing else, and if you have $30 spare, yeah, you'll be fine. Just keep in mind you're trialing, you're testing stuff for somebody else, and you're paying to do so. Expect downtime, expect changes and patches and constant updates and things going up and down. Expect some disruption, if you will, and just expect that in a year's time, the game will be very different in some ways from what it is now, because there's clearly a bit more work to be done. And in the interim, if you want to have a taste for what the world of Path of Exile 2 may have to offer, Path of Exile, the first game, is free to play and quick to download. That is all I have for now. Thanks for listening. I'll see you around. Stay safe.